Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tham buddhi lakshanodarya Rupa shila gunashrayam Krishnascha sadrishim bharyam Samudvodhum manodhade Tham buddhi lakshanodarya Rupa shila gunashrayam Krishnascha sadrishim bharyam Samudvodhum manodade Tham buddhi lakshanodarya Rupa shila gunashrayam Krishnascha sadrishim bharyam Samudvodhum manodade Ladies. buddhi, of intelligence, lakshana, auspicious bodily markings, odarya, magnanimity, rupa, beauty, shila, proper behavior, guna, and other personal qualities, ashrayam, repository, Krishna, Lord Krishna, cha, and sadrishim, suitable, bharyam, wife, samudvodhum, to marry, mana, his mind, date, made up. Lord Krishna knew that Rukmini possessed intelligence, auspicious bodily markings, beauty, proper behavior, and all other good qualities. Concluding that she would be an ideal wife for him, he made up his mind to marry her. Purport. Just as Lord Krishna was described as Sadrisham Patim, an ideal husband for Rukmini, being just like her, Rukmini is described as Sadrishim Bharyam, an ideal wife for Sri Krishna, being just like him. That is natural, since Srimati Rukmini is Lord Krishna's internal potency. Om Agyan Timidandasya Gyananjana Chakshurum Bilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juthapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Sri Rupam Sadrajataham Sahakamalam Tam Sajivam Satvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padaham Sahakana Lalita Sri Vishakan Vidhamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. We are reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 52, entitled Rukmini's Message to Krishna, Text 24. This chapter begins with Muchakunda, after having been blessed by Krishna, after long sleep in a cave, after being blessed by Krishna. Muchakunda fought valiantly for the demigods for such a long time that during that span, his wife, his children, his grandchildren, his empire, everything was lost in time. Because when he was fighting for the demigods, he was on their time zone. The demigods were so pleased with him, they offered him any material benediction. But he was personally a witness of how everything and anything in this world is going to be lost in time. Everything is so relative. Long time, short time, doesn't make that much difference. Srimad Bhagavatam tells, what is the use of living a long life? There are trees that live thousands of years old, but the quality of their life is not necessarily so enlightened. But if one even lives one moment in a fully enlightened state, in loving remembrance of Krishna, then the doors to eternal happiness are born. So the quality of how we utilize our time in this human life is what is really our greatness. Whether we live long time or small time. Srila Prabhupada would cite Shankaracharya, Jesus Christ, even Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They lived relatively short lives, but they changed the world forever by the quality of what they spoke and how they lived. And there are some trees that are 9,000 years old, according to scientists. There's one particular tree over 9,000 years old. How many of you have seen it? How many of you know where that tree is? How many of you know whether it's a boy or a girl? So that tree is not going to live in history as being something that has transformed the world. Although we offer all honor and respects to every jivatma and every species of life, the human form of life is especially meant for self-realization. And one of the greatest impetuses that material nature has given us to help us take seriously the real potential we have is the power of time. Because no matter what you do, you cannot escape it on the material platform. Therefore, we're going to read in this chapter, when Krishna greets a Brahmin, he's going to tell this Brahmin that you are to be honored because you are happy in any situation. Dualities are always changing in this world. But you're basically content within yourself, living according to the principles of true Dharma. That's your happiness. That's your wealth. So Muchakunda was a king. And he had a vast empire and a wonderful family and wonderful kingdom. And he just did some service for the demigods. And when he finished, he realized that through the power of time, everything was gone. So now the demigods are offering him any benediction. So he doesn't take anything seriously anymore as far as material acquisition and enjoyment. He's seen it. The reality is we've all seen it. The difference between Muchukunda and most people is the sincerity to grasp it. That Yaksha asked Yudhisthira Maharaj, what is the most incredible thing in creation? Now, these days, if you ask somebody that, they would probably talk about different types of applications on cellular phones, satellites, and ships that are going to take people into outer space. So many things incredible we could talk about. Mystic yogis who could read people's minds and disappear and appear. But Yudhisthira Maharaj, he saw everything. He was an emperor. He said the most wonderful thing is everybody sees everything is under the power of time. So much death. And yet we think that we will not die. And even if theoretically we know we will die, because everybody knows that. Padam padam yad vipadam natesham. When, we don't know. But we will. Still, we don't live with that consciousness. We just put it, we try to file it away in some place that it doesn't disturb our quest for happiness and enjoyment in this world. But Mochukunda understood. So here he could have asked for a heavenly planet, beautiful palace, could have asked for all of his relatives back if he wanted. The demigods could do incredible things. To show his extreme disinterest in everything material, he just said, I just want to go to sleep. That's quite a statement. Demigods, it's not an insult to the demigods, it's just a very strong statement that, well, I don't care about anything that you can give me. You're offering me anything within your powers, just give me the boon that I could just go to sleep. And anyone who tries to wake me. So Krishna wanted to wake him. Because Krishna wanted him to show the world a good lesson. Krishna knows past, present, and future. Krishna wanted this story to be discussed. Here in November of 2014 at Radha Gopinath Temple. When Krishna was in the cave, as Kalyavana came in and was looking at this sleeping man about to kick him, Krishna was just in the darkness watching. He knew that we would be discussing this story. Over 5,000 years later. And he knew every person that would be in the room. And he knows every one of your previous lives. And he knows what you're thinking right now. While he was in the cave, he knew what you would be thinking right now. That's Krishna. He has inconceivable powers. But his most supreme power is his power to attract our hearts and to give us the happiness of his love, if we simply accept it. So Muchukunda was woken up by Kalyavana, and Kalyavana was immediately put to sleep by Muchukunda in his own way. It was quite reciprocal. And of course, he was very auspicious. He burned to ashes within a second. It's not like, a funeral pyre where it takes a long time. Just like ash. And it's not that fire came out of Muchukunda's eyes. It doesn't describe that in the Bhagavatam. He just looked at him. And by the power of his glance, the fire ignited inside Muchukunda's body, and instantly he was ashes. Really clean. But that all happened in the presence of Krishna. Even though Kalyavana didn't see Krishna, Krishna saw him. So he died in the presence of Krishna, so very fortunate. Extremely special person. And then Krishna reveals himself to Muchukunda. And Muchukunda, because of his sincerity and his devotion, his humility and his detachment, he could recognize Krishna. He could understand that he's the supreme personality of Godhead. He's the absolute truth. Parimanjana churita bhakti velochanena. Only if one's eyes are decorated with love can one see Krishna. Bhaktyatvanyaniyashakya aham evam vidurjana. Krishna says, only by true devotion can I be seen as I am. Yayatamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajami. Krishna reveals himself according to how we surrender. So it's not that our love gives us the power to see Krishna. It's that our love pleases Krishna. And therefore Krishna reveals himself to us. This is the principle of the descending process of bhakti. It's not by the power of our love, or the power of our sadhana, or our power of our charity, or the power of our intelligence or philosophical awareness. It's only by Krishna's grace that he can be understood as he is. And Krishna's grace is given to us samsiddhir haridoshanam, when we understand that the goal of our life is to please him. And we honestly and sincerely please him. Even if technically by material standards we make some mistakes, if the sincerity of our heart is really to please Krishna and we're really trying to act according to Krishna's will, then Krishna will be pleased. So Krishna revealed himself to Muchukunda. It's interesting because Kalyavana was looking at Krishna and he just wanted to kill him. He didn't feel love. He didn't feel this is God. He just saw Krishna as an enemy, as a threat. And Jarasandha, he came to see Krishna 18 times and just tried to destroy Krishna. He had nothing but envy and hatred for Krishna. And they're seeing the same Krishna. But Muchukunda, immediately, in the darkness of the cave, he sees Krishna illuminating everything. And he totally falls in love with Krishna and surrenders his life to Krishna. And Krishna offers him any benediction. And the only thing he wants is just let me remember you. Let me serve you. Nothing else. Nothing else has any value. Hari Hari. And when we come to this conclusion, then Krishna will reveal himself to us too. When we come to that conclusion, we can live in this world and not be of this world, as Bible says. But we keep in mind that the only thing of real value, nashato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate shata. What is temporary has no value ultimately. And what is real is that which has no birth or death. So we can easily be distracted by all these temporary things. We can be enticed by temporary things. We can be depressed by temporary things. We can be completely enamored or devastated through this temporary world. We have to deal with the problems of this world in a realistic way, but with compassion for the soul, because it is the soul that is permanent. And compassion to the soul is understanding the soul's relation with Krishna. So this incredible story happens. And then Muchakunda, after getting the benediction from Krishna that he will always remember him and serve him, didn't ask for anything else. Krishna disappears, and Muchakunda goes out of the cave, because he was sleeping for a long time. Quite an amazing story. He's really astounded when he walks outside. Because everything is different. Srila Prabhupada explains, he lived in Calcutta and Ahmedabad, Allahabad, and he lived in Mumbai for some time, and he lived in Vrindavan. He never saw snow. But then in New York City, he woke up one morning and everything was covered with snow. And Prabhupada said, I thought that the city painted everything white. And he realized it was snow. So Muchakunda woke up and he comes out of his cave and he sees everything so small. The trees are tiny and the plants are tiny. And the animals are tiny, and the humans are tiny. But he was wise. He understood. This means Kali Yuga has begun. Everything's reduced. The size, the strength, the memory, the duration of life, everything reduces in Kali Yuga. The ability to control our mind and senses, everything is a challenge in Kali Yuga. The decline in religious principles, dharma, morality. It's a time of decline. The rising of irreligion, egoism, and all these things, and along with that, the decline of everything. So the great sages, they consider Kali Yuga the best time of all times, because things are so fragile and so vulnerable that people could really understand the necessity to take shelter of Krishna, who appears in this age of Kali in his holy names to make himself most accessible to anyone in every situation, however vulnerable, however fallen, however short our memory and short our life and short our qualifications. Krishna's made it so that we can all attain the ultimate perfection that in previous ages you had to be extremely qualified to get to even approach these perfections. In Kali Yuga, if we're just sincere to serve and we chant the holy names, the same benediction is given. So that's the setting to the story. So Mochukunda, after seeing what's going on in Kali Yuga, he just went right to Badrikashram. Direct. Badrikashram means it's cold. You don't have a house in those days. Nobody had a house in Badrikashram. You just live in a cave or under a tree. And you just go there specifically to perform tapasya so that you could completely immerse yourself in preparing for death. So he went to Badrikashram to perform austerities, to fix his mind in devotional service without distraction. And Krishna comes back to Mathura. He's already shifted the whole Yadu dynasty to Dwarka in the middle of the night. They go to sleep in Mathura, they wake up in Dwarka. This is Krishna's travel agency. There was no negotiations over price. They went to sleep in a nice little palace in Mathura, and they woke up in the most extraordinary, extravagant, brand new palace built by Vishwakarma in Dwarka. It was very nice. So Krishna comes back down and meets Balaram and the soldiers of Kaliyavana, because he brought millions of unbelievably powerful people, personalities in his army. And Krishna Balaram, they liberated all of them. Then they collected some of the valuable things to bring back to Dwarka. And just at that point, Jarasandha attacks with 23 Akshauhini divisions of soldiers. An Akshauhini division is an entire army. He had 23 entire armies. Massive. It was like an ocean of warriors and soldiers and elephants and chariots, and everybody was armed and trained, and they all come marching upon Krishna. And right in the front is Jarasandha. So Krishna, his pastimes are so incredible. The different types of emotions and relationships that are revealed to us. Krishna sees Jarasandha attacking, and along with Balaram, he runs away. They really run fast. They're running like the wind. They're swiftly running, and Jarasandha is so upset. He's insulting Krishna, calling him a coward. And he's on his horses and chariots, and all his armies, they're all chasing after Krishna, and Krishna's running away. Now it's interesting. Kaliyavana was more powerful than Jarasandha. And he was running full speed after Krishna, and Krishna was leisurely walking. Krishna was not in any way exhausted, perspiring. He's just walking, looking around. And this man, Kaliyavana, was gigantic too. I mean, if you read about how he was born and what he represented, he was an unbelievable type of monster. He's running, and he could really run. One of his steps, the size of these people. We do like 100-meter run, and one step, he can do 100 meters in less than a second, just a step. He's running full speed after Krishna. Krishna's walking. He's pretending that Kalyavana doesn't even exist. Kalyavana is roaring with this horrible voice, insulting Krishna, challenging Krishna, calling him a coward, telling him, I'm going to destroy you. Why are you leaving? Krishna's just walking. And he walked up the mountain, and he walked into a cave. Kalyavana followed him. So here's Jarasandha. And instead of walking, Krishna really runs along with Balaram. And he's running so fast. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna was running so fast to get away from Jarasandha that he and Balaram appeared to be exhausted. So why he could run just as fast, walking, without even going fast. And he's also, Krishna is so inconceivable. He has his purpose behind everything. So here he is running and running and running, and Jarasandha's chasing after him with horses and chariots and screaming at him and blaspheming him. And just like he did with Kalyavana, Krishna walked up a mountain with Jarasandha. He ran, Krishna and Balaram ran up a mountain. Now, why can't Jarasandha see that Krishna already totally defeated him 17 times? Yes? He brought 23 Akshauhini divisions of soldiers. It was like his strategic plan. He would come, he would gather millions of soldiers from every part of the world to attack Krishna. And Krishna would completely eliminate his army, catch him, humiliate him, then let him go. And then he'd go and get another army and come and attack Krishna. Krishna would eliminate the army, capture him, humiliate him, and let him go. 17 times. And he thinks Krishna's afraid of him. How is this? Jarasandha represents a human being under the influence of Maya. The most obvious things we're so forgetful of. Things that are so logical and easy to understand, people they're so distant from people's awareness and consciousness. That's how Maya works. Jarasandha is not just pretending, he really honestly thinks that Krishna is afraid of him because he's so powerful. Krishna's running away from me and he's hiding, and I'll find him and I'll kill him. He's not thinking, he defeated all my armies single-handedly 17 times. He defeated me, he captured me like a cat, a little mouse, and then he lets me go, and now he's afraid of me, and he's along with Balaram this time. This is the nature of the false ego. This is how deluding arrogance is. Prakriti kriyamanani gune karmani sarvasha. Bewildered soul thinks they're the doer of their activities, when actually they're being carried out by nature. And sarva karana karanam, Krishna is the cause of all causes. Mayadhyakshena prakriti, the material nature works under his direction. So how is it we take credit for things? How is it that we consider ourselves superior to someone else because of the gifts of God that Krishna has given us? God gives us gifts to use in his service to uplift people, and we take those same gifts only to increase our own ego and start either being envious or arrogant to all others. there's really not much difference between our condition and Jarasandha. It's so obvious. And especially for devotees, we read it in Bhagavad Gita, we read it in Srimad Bhagavatam, we heard it from the sadhus and the Vaishnavas about the ego and the nature of the soul and the nature of Maya, but still we go out and we forget. We still want to criticize, we still want to show how I'm great and others are not great. It's the nature of the ego. It's the nature of envy and arrogance. It just blinds us. It's nothing less obvious than what we're reading about with Jarasandha. He's defeated by Krishna, but still, because of his arrogance and his envy and all of these other anarthas that he has, he can't see the reality. He really believes. He's not just pretending like a dramatic actor. He really believes, I am great, Krishna's afraid of me. And Krishna and Balaram, just to make it really seem that way, they're running. It's really dramatic. Kaliyavana, they walked. In that case, they wanted to show, here's Kaliyavana, the fastest person alive, practically, and Krishna's walking, and he can't catch him. Really disturbing him. He was really agitating Kaliyavana, so Kaliyavana would kick him really hard when Krishna had a plan. Because to wake up Muchakunda, he was sleeping soundly. He needed a strong kick. So Krishna arranged everything so nicely. So with Jarasandha, Krishna wanted to increase his ego. Yes? So how did he increase his ego? By running away. Just see, he's running from me. And he's exhausted, and I'm going to catch him. And Krishna and Balaram, they were laughing and smiling. They were running. And they ran up a mountain. And they hid. Why is Krishna hiding? And Jarasandha and his soldiers and his ministers, they searched the mountain. It's a gigantic mountain. They can't find Krishna. So they decide they will burn Krishna alive. So Jarasandha, with all of his millions of soldiers, they collect huge amounts of wood to light an entire mountain on fire. It's a big project. But he was a king, and these kings, they could accomplish whatever they want because they had authority. It's not like, some board of directors meeting where he says, I propose that we light this whole mountain on fire, and somebody says, well, the budget that we have. We're going to have to raise some funds for this one. And what to speak of the environmental agencies? What are they going to? King in those days, kings were kings. They had authority. He just said, burn the mountain. Within minutes, they had hundreds of millions of logs and everything, and they started on fire. And the entire mountain was blazing. And it's a big mountain, huge mountain. Prabharsana. And Krishna and Balaram, they're just enjoying. It's just makes their Leela even more attractive. It's about 88 miles high. And they're on the very top. And it's blazing on fire. And Jarasandha realizes Krishna and Balaram are dead because the entire mountain is totally blazing. So there's no way that Krishna could survive. So Jarasandha and his armies, they're just watching. Finally. And what does Krishna and Balaram do? They jump from the top of the mountain. And they're just having really a good time. And then they land, Jarasandha, the armies, they don't see him. They just go to Dwarka to meet all the Yadus. Because the Yadus all have their new houses and their new place, and Krishna hasn't been there yet, so he's going back to Dwarka. And Jarasandha and his armies think, oh, Krishna's dead, finally. Absolutely, there was no question in their mind. With a roar of victory, he went back to his kingdom of Magadha. Meanwhile, Krishna comes back to Dwarka. He had his internal purpose. And just at that time, Parikshit Maharaj is being told by Shukadev Goswami that Balaramji, he had just been married to the daughter of King Raivat, whose name was Revati, and Krishna was just about to marry Rukmini. And Shukadev Goswami says, and he had to conquer Sheshupal and Jarasandha and Salva and all these people in order to marry Rukmini in a very, it's called the Rakshasa style of marriage. So Parikshit Maharaj really wants to hear this pastime. So that is where we are today. This particular verse, Rukmini is the daughter of a great king named Bhishmaka, whose kingdom is in what's now known as Maharashtra, yes? The Vidarbha is, what's the name of the area now? Kaundinapur. We have devotees living there, yes? Very historical place. So Rukmini, and this is the part of the story that we'll focus on briefly. Rukmini's living with her father, Bhishmaka. And her elder brother is Rukmi. And because the king of Vidarbha is a very pious, saintly person, he's always welcoming Brahmins and sadhus to come to enlighten him. And naturally, everybody's talking about Krishna. So Rukmini, she's hearing. She never saw Krishna. She's just hearing about him. Hearing about his wonderful pastimes of love with his devotees. Hearing about his incredible supreme power. Hearing about his beauty and his qualities. So just hearing about Krishna, she completely falls in love with Krishna. She surrenders her body, her mind, her words, her life to Krishna. Rukmini is an expansion of Srimati Radharani. She's the eternal consort of Krishna from the spiritual world. She's descended into this world, Krishna's pleasure potency. So naturally, when she hears about Krishna, even though she may not, on one level, be externally aware of her tattva, she just falls in love with Krishna, just by hearing about him. That is the power of transcendental sound vibration. And this is how bhakti works. Because Rukmini is the Ananda Shakti. She's the pleasure potency of Krishna, the Hladini Shakti. So she has an eternal loving relationship with Krishna. And just by hearing about Krishna's form and qualities and pastimes and hearing his names awakens that, and she surrenders everything. In a similar way, Mamaivam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanat. We're all part of Krishna. Nitya siddha Krishna prema sajya kapunoi. Love of Krishna is within all of us. We're all Krishna Shakti. The Jiva Shakti, Tatastha Shakti. We are all Krishna's energies. We are all eternally servants of Krishna. We are all eternal lovers of Krishna. So when Srila Prabhupada explains in this record album he made in 1966 in New York, he gives an explanation of the Hare Krishna mantra. He says that Krishna consciousness is the original consciousness of every living being. It's not an imposition on the mind, it simply has to be revived. And this transcendental sound vibration revives. By hearing Krishna's name, by hearing Krishna's qualities, by hearing Krishna's pastimes. Like Rukmini, we all have an eternal relationship with Krishna. We all have love for Krishna. But it's been forgotten. And this is the most powerful way and the most natural way of awakening that love. Because Krishna is all attractive. And Krishna personally, Kali Kale Namarupe Krishna Avatar. Krishna has descended with all of his potencies within his name. Nam Nama Kari Bahuta Nija Sarva Shaktis. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. He knows what he's done. Krishna himself is telling, I have descended in my name. In my holy names I have invested my beauty, my pastimes, my power. All my Shaktis are within my names, because the name is me. But according to our service attitude and according to how we approach the name, Krishna is going to reveal himself accordingly. When Draupadi threw her hands in the air and cried out, Hey Krishna, Hey Govinda, she surrendered, she took shelter, and therefore Krishna in his name came and personally was there for her. When we learn to chant like that, Krishna will manifest. He's there for us whenever we chant. He's there for us even if we don't chant. But he reveals himself according to the sincerity in which we call out his names. And similarly, their beautiful verse in Srimad Bhagavatam tells us that when Krishna departed from this material world, he descended in the form of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Mahapurana. This Bhagavad Purana gives light in the darkness of the age of Kali. It is non-different than Krishna. The Bhagavatam is Krishna. Every verse of the Bhagavatam is Krishna personally manifesting. And especially this 10th canto that we're reading now, Krishna's revealing himself, his pastimes, his relationships with his devotees. So when we hear the descriptions of Krishna's form, of Krishna's love for his associates, of Krishna's wonderful leelas, of Krishna's wonderful powers, it attracts our hearts. Little Krishna at 7 years old lifts Govardhan Hill with one finger. Little Krishna, when he's an infant, subdues the great Putana. Krishna in Kurukshetra manifests as Virat Rupa. Krishna jumps from a mountain with Balaram, appearing to be afraid. Now what a difference. Krishna has no fear of Jarasandha. 23 millions and millions of soldiers are attacking. Yes? And they're lighting an entire mountain on fire. We can't even imagine such a fire. And Krishna's laughing and joking with Balaram in their jump off. No fear. But Yashoda Mai, we see here her beautiful Murti. There's Krishna, he looks afraid. He is afraid. He's not pretending to be afraid, he is afraid. Because Yashoda Mai has a stick. It's not a Hanuman club, it's just a little stick for herding calves. Not even that. And even she puts the stick away and Krishna's still afraid. He's crying. So Krishna's showing fear of Yashoda. And he's just playfully, he's actually afraid of Yashoda. And he's playfully just playing games with Jarasandha and all these armies. This is Krishna. This is Srimad Bhagavatam. The intricacies of how Krishna attracts our heart through his beautiful pastimes. And just by hearing them, if we hear them from the right people, in the right association, with the proper state of mind, with the desire to please and serve Krishna, just by hearing these names, Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, and chanting these names and glories of Krishna, our love awakens. It's already there. It's such a natural process. You can't impose it. By Krishna's grace, it awakens. And Rupa Goswami tells, what is the price? Our eagerness. Our eagerness to hear about Krishna. Our eagerness to chant about Krishna. Our eagerness to serve and please Krishna. That eagerness, that lolyam, that yearning for Krishna, is an act of surrender. It's the surrender of the heart. Sushushosh Radhanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahatsevaya Vipra Punya Tirtana Sevana. When we become eager to hear about Krishna, the Srimad Bhagavatam tells, Srinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Sravana Kirtana Hridyantastohya Bhadrani Vidunoti Surit Satam. When we become eager to hear about Krishna, Krishna is so pleased by our eagerness just to hear about him and to chant about him, that Krishna from within our heart cleanses us of all the anarthas and reveals himself directly. But how do we develop that eagerness to hear? By serving great souls. Shushushoshadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi. To develop this Vasudeva Kataruchi, this taste for hearing, this eagerness for hearing, it's only possible when Krishna is pleased with us. And Krishna is pleased when Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra, when we please his devotees through our service. This is why this service attitude is the foundational basis for all our progress. It's the basis of how effective our chanting, our hearing, and our deity worship, and everything else we do, our projects. Krishna is going to reciprocate according to our service attitude. And sanmahat sevaya vipra. This verse says, by serving great souls. Not just serving Krishna. Gopi bharatur padakamalayora dasa dasa dasanudas. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in this simple statement that he spoke at Jagannath Puri in his prayer to Jagannath, I just want to be the servant of your servant. It's the very essence of the Srimad Bhagavatam. He's about to perform Ratha Yatra and have the most incredible kirtan the world has ever seen, and completely drown everyone in Puri with the monsoon rainstorm of Harinam Sankirtan and Prema Bhakti. But he begins by establishing the foundation to be the servant of the servant of the servant. So that is why we come together in this spirit. And actually everybody who's assembled in the class, just by your attentiveness, you're serving everyone else. Because you're affecting people. If you're attentive and you're eager, you're sending out an energy, a vibration that actually helps everybody else to be attentive. But if you're sleeping, then you're sending out that vibration. It's really not so interesting. And then other people, everything's contagious. Sleepiness in class is very contagious. One person and another person thinks, oh yes, yes, yes. But eagerness to hear is also very contagious. So when we're eager to hear and eager to serve, we're all that, just like Parikshit Maharaj was told by Sukadev Goswami, because you're so eager to hear, Krishna's empowering me to speak. Everything's reciprocal in bhakti. So if we're eager to hear, it helps others to be eager to hear. So in this sense, Katha is a type of kirtan where everybody's one heart, one mind in Krishna. Whether it's chanting Krishna's names together, or whether it's hearing Krishna's pastimes or teachings together, we're all united in our absorption in Krishna. And Trinadapi suniche nataror ivasehishna. If we have ego, if we're thinking of, how I can put someone else in a lower position so I can assume a higher position, if we have that mentality, then we're actually, even if we're physically here, our consciousness is outside of the realm of kirtan and harikatha. The actual eagerness to hear is only possible when there's a humble and grateful heart. Draupadi had no false pride when she cried out for Krishna. And that's the way we have to hear about Krishna. We come to the temples, we come to the satsangs because we really want to connect with Krishna. Like Muchakunda, we know that everything else in this world is here and gone. This is the one truth that I could really hold on to. This is the one investment that has real returns for the soul. And that's bhakti, which begins with sravanam kirtanam, hearing and chanting. So here is Rukmini. She, in her life, she never saw Krishna. She just heard devotees talking about him. And she gave her heart completely. And this is a theme that comes in such essential places of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Hearing from devotees, how it can totally transform us. little Prahlad. He was just in the womb of his mother, but he heard Krishna's glories from Narada Muni. He didn't see Krishna. He just heard about him from a devotee, a great devotee. And just by hearing about Krishna, he completely gave his heart to Krishna. It was later on when Nrsimhadev appeared to him, but Nrsimhadev appeared after Prahlad showed what was his realization. And little Dhruva Maharaj, he heard about the personality of Godhead from his mother, and he went to the forest. He heard about the form and nature of Krishna from Narada Muni, and he was willing to perform such tapasya on the basis of faith of what he heard from a devotee. He hadn't seen anything. But he was quite humbled by his stepmother's words. And the wives of the Brahmins, the Yajnik Brahmins, they never met Krishna, never saw him. But they would go to buy flowers and fruits at the marketplace, and they would just hear the Brijabasi ladies talking about Krishna's pastimes. And just by hearing about Krishna, hearing about his form, hearing about his loving relationships with his devotees, hearing about his qualities, they totally fell in love with him, completely surrendered their hearts to him, and were just yearning and praying to serve him. And Krishna knew that, and called them to meet him in the forest. And when the Brahmins' wives came to meet Krishna, they came in a mood of total surrender. As they were moving through the forest with their baskets of bhoga for Krishna, what was their eagerness? They would just hear the gopis and the people who met the gopis at the marketplace. They would hear them talking about Krishna, and it affected their hearts so much. Whenever they were together, they would just repeat what they heard in the marketplace. 24 hours a day they were fixed in Krishna. And ultimately Krishna was so pleased with their eagerness to hear and eagerness to serve that he revealed himself. So here we find Rukmini. She's in love with Krishna just by hearing about him. And in today's verse, Krishna's Shukadev Goswami is telling Parikshit, Krishna is completely in love with Rukmini because he knows her heart. Rukmini, hearing about Krishna, has given her life, and Krishna has given his life to Rukmini. And in the verses to come, we're going to find a Brahmin coming to Dwarka with a message. And I'm not going to speak on this subject. Next class I give, whenever that may be, I will continue. But this Brahmin is coming on an emergency, secret. It's very secret. Because Rukmi, the elder brother of Rukmini, hates Krishna. He's really envious of Krishna. His best friend is Shishupal. And Shishupal's Krishna's cousin. And Shishupal is so envious of Krishna. Anything Krishna does just makes Shishupal totally disgusted, angered, depressed, every kind of emotion. Every time Shishupal hears somebody say something good about Krishna, he becomes psychologically deranged. Because he's so envious. He just does nothing but propaganda and blasphemy against Krishna. So Rukmini loves Krishna. And Shishupal loves Rukmini. And the father, Bhishmaka, really wants her to marry Krishna. But Rukmi, the eldest son, he hates Krishna. So he's convinced the father, you must marry my sister to Shishupal. Now this is a serious matter. No marriage board could deal with this one. Only Krishna can save. Everything's arranged. The invitations, the whole city is decorated for the marriage of Shishupal and Rukmini. And these invitations, we have our invitations for marriages. But the kings who were allies of Shishupal and Rukmi from all over the world were coming with their armies. And among them, of course, is Jarasandha. He's a very senior person. Jarasandha's marching to the marriage. Salva is there for the marriage. Rukmi is there. Shishupal and all of his relatives and friends and ministers, they're all there. It's going to be an extremely prestigious marriage. Very opulent arrangements. And Rukmini, the marriage is the next day. Yes? So she sends this Brahmin, give this message, a sealed letter to Krishna, bring it to him immediately. No internet. This Brahmin has to go all the way from Vidarbha to Dwarka. And Brahmins are not famous for, their chariots and horses, but somehow or other this Brahmin has to get there because he understands this Brahmin's obviously a great devotee and really an emergency mission. Rukmini is in such distress because there was no divorces in those days. If she marries Shishupal, that means she's stuck with this demon for the rest of her life. She loves Krishna. She's surrendered her heart to Krishna. She's completely, exclusively in love with Krishna. And if she marries Shishupal, she's going to be in a place where she's going to be hearing Krishna blasphemed 24 hours a day. And if she shows any inclination toward Krishna in the presence of Shishupal, it will never be tolerated. She'll be tortured emotionally. So this is her state. She wants to use her efforts to serve Krishna, not to serve Krishna's worst enemy. It's desperation. And there's nothing she could do about it except just send a message. So the Brahmin arrives, and Krishna is so happy to see a Brahmin. Krishna gets off his throne in Dwarka and and washes the feet of the Brahmin and massages his feet and asks him questions. Are you happy? Are you following your religious principles? He says, great devotees like you are satisfied because you're following Dharma. Whatever happens in this world, if we have the integrity to continue following the principles of Dharma, we'll be happy in any situation. But people who compromise their Dharma can never be happy. This is what Krishna is telling. Because you are a true Brahmin, you are always following your dharma. Therefore, whether you have a lot of things or nothing, it doesn't matter, you're happy. And therefore you could bring others happiness. How can I serve you? And the Brahmin says, I have a letter from Rukmini. And Krishna tells the Brahmin to read it. It's just a short letter. Sometimes in Srimad Bhagavatam there are prayers that are many chapters. Her prayers are just several verses, but they're so precise. She's glorifying Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She's expressing to Krishna that your names and your form and your beauty and your pastimes have completely attracted my heart. I have surrendered my life to you and you only. Please save me because my brother is going to get me married to this jackal Shishupal tomorrow. So please come immediately and save me from this fate worse than death. If I cannot serve you and love you, I will end my life. I cannot live. In Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, at the house of Chandrasekhar Acharya, Lord Chaitanya invited the devotees. He said he was going to dance in the mood of the goddess of fortune. And the devotees were so excited to come. It was going to begin at sunset, and he was going to dance till sunrise. Everyone was really excited. Lord Chaitanya told them that the only ones who are allowed here are people who have no material desires. And all the devotees started to cry and look down, because devotees never think that they're liberated. Devotees thought, that means I can't be here. And Lord Chaitanya said, no, you could be here. And this was one of the very primary parts that Vrindavan Das Thakur explains. Is Lord Chaitanya and his associates, Lord Chaitanya was reciting the prayers of Rukmini to Krishna in her total desperation. What she wrote, he was reciting the words of this letter that we're about to read. And after Krishna hears the message, he tells the Brahmin, just as Rukmini has given her heart to me, I have totally given my heart to Rukmini. And I'm leaving immediately. And he calls Daruka, his charioteer, and says, let us leave now. Krishna drove all night and arrived the next morning, when Jarasandha and Shishupal and everyone were dressed really nice for this marriage. And we will continue in the future. Thank you very much.
Yeah.